Hello and welcome back to the SPFL predictions for 25-26 season. We obviously just did the League Two ones earlier today. I'm doing the League One ones and Championship and Premiership all recorded on the same day, but they're not all coming out on the same day because I want to, have a life. But essentially, I'm doing my League One predictions now. I obviously mentioned that the League Two ones are not necessarily going to be accurate. I would hope my League One ones are much more accurate. I certainly pay a lot more attention to League One than I do to League Two or even arguably the Championship. But I feel like my League One predictions will be a bit more accurate in terms of the reality that we should face. However, that being said, I guarantee you I'm going to upset some people with some predictions. People are going to look at these and they're going to call me an idiot. They're going to say I'm stupid. But, I'm doing them because I enjoy them. And I think that's part of the fun of it. So, yes, sit back, enjoy, or, be prepared to be rage baited, I guess, in terms of, why is my team so low down, or why is my team so high up, or, why is this team at the top end of the table? That makes no sense. They're garbage, which I guarantee, by the way, number one, I feel like it's going to surprise a lot of people. It doesn't seem to be surprising the bookies, but I think it might surprise a lot of people. So as you can see, I've put the league table back in there. So we're going to work our way up from 10 back up to 1, as we did with the last time. Starting in at number 10, I'm putting Peterhead. I feel like that is kind of an obvious prediction. You look at Peterhead, they're not a great team. I think they were unlucky not to get promoted from League Two a couple of years ago. And then similarly, I think they were quite lucky that the competition in League Two didn't seem to quite be at the level that it should have been at. So they were able to kind of sort of win the league relatively comfortably. To me, they look as though they've got a poor squad. It's quite weak. I don't think it's good enough for League One level. And for me, I look at them as a team that's just going to go straight back down again. So credit to them for getting promoted. Credit to them for winning League Two. But I don't think they're a good enough team to stay up, especially when you look at their League Cup performances. A team like Peterhead, if you're going to compete in League One, needs to be beating Clyde, beating Stenhousemuir, perhaps got to be looking at potentially snatching and grabbing something off of Great Morton. Now, Morton obviously playing well at the minute, but there's no excuses for not, at the very least, trying to get something off of the Clyde and Stenhousemuir. And I just think that they've not got enough in them to be able to stay up. So Peterhead, 10th place, simple start. Speaking of Stenhousemuir, they're the team that I've got in ninth. I think that they were fantastic last season, but I think that they overachieved massively. They were quite, relatively underwhelming to watch. I think that they're going to suffer from a massive hangover this year. And again, I think the League Cup performances suggest that. I think they'll do slightly better than Peterhead. I don't think they'll do any real serious damage. Keeping in mind as well, like part of the reason I've got them so low is not because I think that they're a particularly poor team, but because I think that they're a side that can potentially cause problems. But when you look at the quality of the rest of the league, I just don't see a world in which Stenhousemuir are able to compete at that level. And I think there's too much there for the rest of them to be able to deal with. So yes, so Stenhousemuir are in ninth place and in the relegation playoff spot. And just as a wee note, I will be coming back to do my League Two promotion playoff predictions at the end of this as well. In eighth place and just about surviving the relegation battle is going to be Montrose. They're always a team that have kind of been a mid-table side for me. League One is their level, and I think that that's going to continue to be the case. But the problem they're faced with this year is they're up against some much, much tougher teams. I think the League One is a very, very competitive league this year, and I think the Montrose are just not there. They're going from a mid-table team to a bottom-end team just because of the level that's in the league. I think it's really unfortunate for them because I don't think they're a bad team. I don't think they're a bad team at all. But they kind of were a bit, meh during the League Cup. I don't think they really offer particularly much. Their recruitment hasn't been particularly fantastic. And like I say, I don't think it's a bad position for them to be in. I don't see a world in which they finish higher than sixth or seventh, to be honest. But for me, I'm putting them in eighth just because of the teams that I have got in sixth or seventh have more of a reason to be there than Montrose do, in all honesty. So it's not a slight against Montrose, and there's no real argument as to, they don't deserve to be higher. It's just I look at the rest of the league and I don't think they're better than them. in all honesty, which feels harsh, but that's football, I guess. So yeah, eighth place, I've put Montrose. In seventh place, and perhaps maybe a bit premature, perhaps jumping the gun a little bit, I've put East Fife. Now, East Fife are a team that I quite like the look of this year. I really wasn't expected to say that because I said as soon as they got promoted that they were going to finish bottom. And then I've seen their sort of their moves in the off season. I've seen, uh, that they've lost a lot of players, and I was thinking they're done for. It's over for them. They've made no signings and they have lost a lot of players. And somehow they've improved. And I don't really understand how that works. The League Cup form has been brilliant. They've been taking on, like, obviously you expect them to beat Aurora Rangers because they're that level above them, but going up against a team like Kelty Hearts are established. Kelty Hearts have recruited well. Kelty Hearts have done brilliantly. And yet to to not only sort of stand against it, but to beat them kind of feels a bit mental. And I don't really understand the logic there at all. But I think that, perhaps it's perhaps it's just the way that their form is. I mean, on the road to Kelty Hearts, managing to pick up a result like that is massive. So perhaps this is going to be a case of they're going to have really good away form coming into this season. And when they're on the road, they look spectacular and they do well. And I did, before the season started last year, predict them to win League Two. And then they, started the season really poorly, but then they sort of started clawing it back to get into the playoffs to then get up into League One. And I don't think that it doesn't make sense. But for me, I'm looking at them and I'm saying there's enough there to cause some problems, despite the fact that they have done zero business. They have made no signings. I'm baffled by it. So yeah, East Fife in seventh place, and in kind of a bizarre way. Um, I can't really explain it any way other than that, to be honest. In sixth place, and I know this is maybe a bit weird given what I just said about East Fife, but I'm putting Kelly Hearts. I think that Kelly Hearts are a team that have recruited well. I think that their transfers are a bit disproportionate, though. They've lost some vitally key players, some big names, and then they've replaced them with players which aren't really quite as good. And I think that, that they will be about as they were last season. I don't think that they're going to drop off particularly poorly. In a realistic scenario, I can see them in East Fife battling away for that sixth, seventh spot, sort of like, just going away at each other. But I think that for me, they had a bit pretty average League Cup performance. The draw at Killie is a bit of a mental result. Beating Brora Rangers as expected, but then losing at home to East Fife is a bit of a mental one as well. So I can't really explain my thought process, or what any thought process behind Kelty Hearts, but they are a team that are a mid-table team, and I think especially given the quality that's in the top half of the league, they definitely won't be higher than this. There is a possibility that they slip though, and it could be interesting to see. But for me, Kelty Hearts, sixth place. In fifth place, and I think perhaps a controversial point, Hamilton Accies. Now, I'll be honest, this was not where they were when I was sat looking at this last week. When I was sat preparing my predictions and doing up notes and stuff like that, preparing to talk, I had Hamilton Accies in the top three. And I've dropped them 2 spots for 2 reasons. Number one, the transfer embargo. It's a bigger hit than you realise. It's a bigger hit to Hamilton Accies than I think people will understand. What is happening to them here is it's going to cause them so many problems. They're going to suffer as a result of it. It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I feel bad for them. I do. Because they didn't deserve to be relegated. And now they've been hit with the transfer embargo because the SFA hate Hamilton Accies for some reason. I don't really know. But, the fact of the matter is that Hamilton are now really, really struggling. And I think that this could be, if they don't manage to get a grip of the financial situation soon, they will become the new Falkirk in that they have fallen from grace so hard and they're just not going to be able to get back to where they are for such a long time. The only difference is I don't see a world in which they can draw in the quality of a John McGlynn or somebody to come in to salvage their season and to salvage the club. But yes, I do feel bad for Hamilton, but I think they had a tough group in the League Cup, but they underperformed. I think that when I saw them play against Hearts, because I went to that game at Broadwood, I thought that they had absolutely nothing going forward. Like, not even in a sense of, because they're always going to sit in and defend. And I thought defensively they were a really good unit. But going forward, they had nothing. And that's not a case of, well, they're playing against Premiership side Hearts, of course they had nothing. This is a case of, on the counter attack, which was a strategy which realistically should have worked. You've got your strikers fumbling the ball without any pressure whatsoever. You've got midfielders misplacing passes without even a shred of, like, it just, there was too many issues and too many problems going forward for Hamilton Accies for me to see them to be able to cause any problems. So Hamilton Accies fifth place, perhaps controversially, but I see them being the weakest of the top half teams, especially given the form that we're coming in with. In at fourth place, I have Alawa Athletic, a team that I very much did not think were going to be up here. I had them down next to East Fife. I couldn't decide who was going to go sixth, whether it was going to be Kelty or Alawa. I had Alawa, but they're doing what they need to. They're getting results. And that is what you need to do at this level. You can play all the brilliant and spectacular and exciting football that you want, but you need to get results. And at the end of the day, when I watched them, because I did watch that Airdrie Alloa game, I thought that Airdrie were the better team. I thought that Airdrie were quite exciting in possession. They were causing all kinds of problems, and Alloa were very much just hit and hope. But hit and hope worked, and it kept working. And that's my point, is that Alloa are a team that, they've always been in at this level. They've always been sort of competing around here, and they've never had that sort of, final push to get themselves back up again. I don't think they do have that final push to get themselves back up again, but they are in the playoff spots. So there's perhaps a way of them sneaking up there. Who knows? You'll find out when I do my championship predictions, because that's when I'm going to do the playoff battle for League One's promotion. But yeah, I'm putting Alloa in fourth. I think that, if not for the League Cup, I'd have put them much lower. But the League Cup performances have shown me that they have what it takes to get it done. And you know what? I can respect it. They've got a good home record as well. I can respect it. They're going in fourth place. In third place, a team that none of the bookies are really looking at for the title, but a lot of people are saying will win the League One title, is Cove Rangers. Now, I think that Cove are an improving side. They've, without a doubt, got the strongest team on paper in the league, in my opinion. They've made some good transfers. They're sitting in a strong position. I just don't think they have it. I just don't. There's something missing. It's not quite there. I can't really put my finger on it. I can't. But there's something about the fact that they were in a group with, Falkirk, who are comfortably the better team. They were in with Queen's Park, who are just not in a good place right now. League Two Spartans and Brecon City. And, realistically, you've got to be winning 3 games out of those 4. Admittedly, game against Falkirk, fair enough. But, they didn't lose to Falkirk. They drew with Falkirk. That's a great result. They then lost to Queen's Park, a team that, yes, they're above them in the leagues, but I just don't see a world in which that's just, there's something about Cove right now, which just says to me that they're not going up. And I feel bad for them, but I just don't see what everyone else is seeing. I don't think they have what it takes to get that championship over the line. I just don't think they're at that point yet. I don't think they're far away. I just don't think they're at that point yet. And of course, my final 2 teams for the title battle, I did say it was going to cause controversy. I'm going to just be upfront with this just now. Second place, Caley Thistle. I think that Caley Thistle, without the points deduction, obviously finished second last year. They are a massive fish in a little pond. They had a good League Cup group. They got some good results in there. I think that, compared to, the teams that they're going up against, yes, they should be beating East Kilbride, they should be beating Elgin City, perhaps not beating Raith Rovers and St Johnstone, because obviously those are teams that are much higher than them. But I look at that Inverness side that I watched last season, and I think that they have what it takes to get to second. I think that they're a solid unit, and they are bigger than this league. And I think that they do belong in the higher flight. But will they get promoted? Who knows? You'll see in the next one. Coming along to number 1, though, because of course there's no point in doing a suspenseful thing, doing a cut, doing a whatever. Queen of the South. Queen of the South to win the league. Queen of the South are being slept on, and I don't know why. The bookies have got them as second favourites to win the league, right? The top 2 at the moment, Inverness are favourites, Queens are second. I don't understand why no one else is backing Queens to win the league here. Queens are being slept on, right? Perhaps it's because there's an argument that Peter Murphy is boring, that the style of football is whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like I said with Alawa earlier on. You don't need to be exciting. You don't need to be spectacular and flamboyant and brilliant, whatever. You need to get results. And what Peter Murphy has done with Queen of the South is get results. I want to raise a situation to you as well. Now, obviously, the League Cup campaign left a lot to be desired in terms of points. Queen of the South lost to Stranraer on their final day. They lost to Stranraer by a single goal to nil. However, looking at the quality of the pitch, you can't play football on that pitch. You can't play the way that Queen of the South want to play on that pitch. Right? Comfortably beating Edinburgh City, wasn't even close. That's to be expected. It's Edinburgh City, they're the league below. You're coming up against a Ross County and a Partick Thistle side that are going to be, well, most people will be predicting will be the top end of the championship. So with regards to that, Queen of the South not only barely losing out to Ross County despite controlling vast periods of that match, but also being arguably cheated out of a result at Partick Thistle. I went to that game. I saw that game. The first free kick the Partick Thistle won, it's not a foul. How it's a foul, I don't know. The Partick Thistle boy drags Hannah to the ground and yet somehow gets the free kick his way. It doesn't make sense to me. Which then leads to a brilliantly scored free kick, which then leads to Hannah getting in his own head, and then it leads to just a big mess at the back, which leads to the second goal. Now from there, Queen of the South are 2-0 down away from home, knowing that the league campaign is coming. They're not going to try and push for this. They know that Partick Thistle are just going to sit and rest on their laurels here as well. Which is why, for me, I look at this purely like from a game to game perspective, and looking at last season, where Queen of the South, had they won just 3 games against teams from the bottom half. Now, they had the worst away form out of anyone in Scotland. They, however, had one of the best home records out of everyone in Scotland. You win 3 games against, and I'm not talking, 3 games against, you have to beat Cove and you have to beat the teams around you, whatever. I'm talking teams against the bottom end of the league, right? I'm talking Annan Athletic, Dumbarton, maybe Stenhousemuir were 4th, but, like the teams down the bottom end of the league. You win those games and you're up. Win 3 of them, you are the champions. And I think that Queen of the South they've got the home form sorted, right? Peter Murphy knows how to play at Palmerston. He hasn't quite figured out how to get results away from home. But I think he's now starting to. And the big part of this is that when he takes these results and these performances, he's going to take Queen of the South up. And he's going to do that because he's going to look at these away games and say, this was all terrible, this didn't work, but now I know what I'm doing and I know how to get the best out of these players. They've made some good business in the window. They've obviously lost a few key players, but then they've brought in some brilliant replacements as well, managing to keep a hold of Kai Kennedy as well. Boy, he looks a superstar. There is proper talent in that Queen of the South team. And for me, I think as a whole, you can look at first place down to 5th, and you could say any one of those 5 could finish anywhere in the top 5. The level of competitiveness in League One is up there. And I think that it could be anyone from 1st to 5th could finish anywhere in that league. And I think that's going to be exciting to watch. But for me, Queen of the South champions, Inverness Caley Thistle 2nd, Cove 3rd, Alawa 4th and making up the final playoff spot. Aki's just missing out in 5th, purely because of everything that's going on in the background of the club. And that is my league table. So now we're going to take a look at the promotion playoffs from League 2 up into League 1. I said I wasn't going to do this until I had my 9th place spot revealed for League 1, but obviously we now know that the teams in the playoff spots are Clyde, East Kilbride, Stenhousemuir and the Spartans. Those are my 4. Now, obviously, the way that the playoff system still works in this level is Clyde v East Kilbride, and then it would be Spartans v Stenhousemuir v Spartans, because Stenhousemuir would be at home. Now, one of the things I disagree with the way that these playoffs are done. I don't agree with it at all. I think that there needs to be a change. I feel like there should be more of a punishment for Stenhousemuir for coming in 9th, because Spartans have actually done well with their season. Stenhousemuir have had a terrible season. Why are Stenhousemuir getting home advantage? Just because you're in the league above? That makes no sense. You've had a terrible season. You don't deserve to be rewarded with a home tie. It doesn't make sense to me. Regardless, Obviously, it's done over two legs, but I would argue it's still it doesn't work for me. But regardless, um, East Kilbride against Clyde, and for me, it's an interesting one. It's kind of wide open, that one. But I'm putting Clyde because, again, like I say, I think that Clyde have got a level of experience that East Kilbride do not. I think that this is it's an open discussion, of course it is, but I think that Clyde have got experience. They've got the structure in place to be able to deal with a playoff run. I just don't think that East Kilbride have got that. And obviously, having made it to the pyramid playoffs, yes, that's one thing, but this is another level, and it's a much more difficult level, and I just don't think that they've got it in them. So for me, I think that Clyde beat East Kilbride. Um, when you then look at Stenhousemuir v Spartans, again, I just think that Stenhousemuir have gone through this before. They know their way up and they know how to stay up. And for me, that they beat the Spartans, the Spartans have had no experience of it properly. Obviously, like I say, pyramid playoffs, it does happen, but it's a different level. It is a different level, and I don't think that they've got what it takes. So for me, it will be a final between Clyde and Stenhousemuir. And when you look at the two of them side by side, you think, who's taking that one? I think it's Stenhousemuir. I think that Clyde are an improving side, certainly on last season, but I just think Stenhousemuir have got too much in them. I think that they are better than the level they've perhaps demonstrated at the early stages of this season. And like I say, they know what it is to come through this system and they know how to hold it off. And I think that they will do enough, just enough, to be able to hold off. So for me, Stenhousemuir will be staying in League One for next season. But that is my final prediction. I'll have the league table back up again here, obviously, because the playoffs can be just wide open. It doesn't really matter what happens with them because they can change as the season goes. But that's my league table prediction. If you disagree with it, of course, please, come and feel free to come and shout at me for it. If you agree with it, then feel free to come and say, what a fantastic prediction. Well done. If you think that I'm an idiot for putting Queen of the South top ahead of, Caley Thistle and Cove and what have you, then feel free to shout at me for that as well. Because, that's just inevitable, isn't it? If people are going to do that. People are going to get mad about that. Despite the fact that they are second favourites for the title, and the bookies have got that, but no one is picking them. And I just think that people are sleeping on Queen of the South when realistically, a couple of wins against the teams that got relegated, not teams in the higher end of the table, not teams mid-table, bottom end of the table. You get 3 wins and you win the league. When you have comfortably got the best record at home, you deserve some damn respect. And for me, Queen of the South are being slept on. I think that the title is arguably theirs to lose. Knock on wood. But yes, so that's my predictions. Please let me know what you think in the comments or on Twitter or whatever. You find all the links and stuff as like I said in the last one in the description. But this has gone on for quite a bit longer than I wanted to, so I'm going to try and cut it down as best I can so that I'm not rambling too much. But yes, thank you very much for watching, and well, good luck.